What is your relationship attachment style? And can you have more than one? Watch the rest of this video to find out. Welcome back to the Mind Council channel, guys. My name is Sunsubi and I'm here to talk to you about everything concerned with mental health and well-being. So, relationship attachment styles. Now, this has been talked about very much recently, so I actually wanted to do a video on it just so I can explain to you guys more about what it is, which attachment styles you fit into, and even just concerns around the whole theory itself and why it may not be as conclusive as people think it is. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, attachment styles in relationships. Well, there are 4 types of attachment styles. And before I delve into those, just to give you a bit more detail, that you can have more than one attachment style, that you can actually heal from one attachment style and move into another attachment style, so they absolutely are not static. And it's often thought that we form our attachment styles from childhood experiences that we've had growing up. Now, the relationship attachment style theory was developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth in the 50s. And these were both psychiatrists who basically said that the way that we form adult relationships has everything to do with the fact of how our parents and our carers behaved with us as we were children growing up. And those childhood experiences is what causes us to form certain attachment styles with other people as we're older. So it's everything to do with how we behave emotionally, our behavior in relationships, whether romantic or not romantic. So what are these 4 different attachment styles? Now, the first one is a secure attachment style. Now, it has been theorized that over 50% of the world's population has a secure attachment style. I don't necessarily agree with this, and I will explain more later, but basically a secure attachment style is an attachment style where the person finds it easier to trust other people. They can actually get closer to another person or people and have no real problem with it. They don't panic when they haven't heard from their partner for a couple of hours or their partner is in a pull away. They are comfortable giving space to their partner and receiving space in return. They accept when somebody loves them and they accept giving love back without having any hesitation or problem with it. Now, people who have secure attachment styles are usually thought to have had childhood and parents growing up who were very aware of their needs and very responsive to these needs. And parents who always made sure that the primary needs of their children were being met. So these parents were very much in the picture, they were very much hands-on, and they were very much responsive when their child showed any signs of distress or discomfort, and they had no problems with giving love and support. Now, if you do not fall into the secure attachment style, and obviously I'm going to very briefly touch on all the attachment styles in this video, and I'm going to go into a lot more detail into the attachment styles in further videos, but today we're going to keep it brief. But if you do not fall into the secure attachment style, then the next attachment styles are the ones that you may find yourselves falling into. So you're either a secure attachment style or you are one of the next 3 that I'm going to mention, which is an insecure type of attachment style. So from the insecure types of attachment styles, the first one I'm going to talk about is an avoidant attachment style. People who have this attachment style are often afraid of being close to another person in a relationship. They are afraid of being hurt or becoming too attached to somebody else because they might get hurt. They have more problem in trusting other people in relationships. They are often commitment phobes, and often when they are in a relationship, they feel very much suffocated. Meaning that they have this whole grass is greener on the other side, I like my freedom, a relationship is overwhelming for me attitude. They prefer to rely on themselves, and they are not as emotionally involved with their significant others. So you're probably not going to get a lot of emotional support from somebody who falls into this attachment style. And of course, as I'm going through these attachment styles, you may find that you see yourself in one of these styles, or that you may find that you see your partner or somebody that you know falling into one of these attachment styles. Maybe even if you see one of your parents falling into one of these attachment styles. Because remember, it's not just about romantic feelings, it can be about non-romantic relationships as well. And the parents of people who are falling into the avoidant attachment style are considered to be not as attentive to their children and their needs, and to be more emotionally distant with their children. And you can kind of see how a parent's attachment style can mirror a child's attachment style. Well, according to the theory anyway, and of course at the end I'm gonna go through why I don't necessarily feel that this is always the case. Now, the third type of attachment style is fearful avoidant. Now, the main difference between fearful avoidant and people who are actually avoidant is that people who are fearful avoidant are actually desperately looking for love. They really want to be in love, they really want to give love and receive love, but they're also afraid of getting hurt, so they avoid that affection. Whereas somebody who is avoidant may not necessarily want to fall in love. People who are fearful avoidant, avoiding being in a relationship with somebody because they're afraid of being hurt. Whereas an avoidant person, they might be afraid of getting hurt, but they don't necessarily are looking to fall into a loving relationship. They're not desperate for that emotional connection, and they're not desperate for that love, which people who are fearful avoidant are. And this is the main defining characteristic between the two. Now, this is considered to be one of the rarest forms of attachment, so do not automatically put yourself or anybody else into this category. There's a lot more research that needs to be done on this particular attachment style, so do not worry if you feel like you may fall into this category. Chances are that you probably don't. And the parent of a child who falls into the fearful avoidant category is usually one who has had some kind of traumatic influence over their child, or there has been some sort of long-lasting trauma going through childhood that has caused the adult to be more afraid to form attachments with people because they don't want to go through any trauma again, or that they don't want to feel hurt again. And the final attachment style is an anxious attachment style. The person who is anxious of being alone, dying alone, or being abandoned. They generally need a lot of validation from their partners, and to feel like they are loved by their partners by getting a lot of reassurance from them on a regular basis. So even if that means that your partner is just texting you every day, or talking to you every day, or giving you back rubs every day, whatever it is that you get your form of security from your partner from, you're going to be looking for that if you fall into this attachment style on a regular basis, and when you do not receive it, you're going to panic. Often people who fall into this attachment style do not feel like they are good enough. They don't feel like they are good enough in general, or that they are good enough partners. They are constantly worried and anxious about the fact that their partners will leave them. And if a partner pulls away, whereas a secure person is not going to have an issue and they're going to let their partner pull away and maybe even welcome the space, someone who is insecure is actually going to panic, and they're probably going to chase for validation from their partner because they have that fear of abandonment. And the parents of somebody who falls into the anxious category are considered to have been sometimes affectionate and sometimes not affectionate. So it's that kind of hot and cold, that inconsistency where you're not consistently getting security. So you're feeling like sometimes your parents really care about you and sometimes they don't. So those are a brief introduction onto the 4 relationship attachment styles. And I'm now going to just go through some of the reasons why I don't feel like these apply to every single person, or that I feel like a lot of things are missing and not mentioned in these attachment styles that really do matter. So for me, the way that you are brought up as a child can affect your attachment style, but it's not necessarily always the case. For example, you can grow up as a child to have very secure, loving parents who, fit into that secure attachment style category, who give you a lot of love, reassurance, fulfill your needs. And because you grow up and think, oh, I'm trusting, that trusting nature can actually cause you to become hurt because people break your trust, which actually means that you're not trusting anymore. You're not a secure relationship attachment style anymore. You actually become fearful avoidant. It can also make you even just avoidant. It can make you more cautious as you get older and make you not maybe even want to be in a relationship, and maybe just to be more self-sufficient. Also, there are plenty of cases of children who have grown up with parents who are very loving, very attention-giving, who have children who actually have a lot of issues with having relationships with other people, and They are avoidant. They don't want to necessarily be in a loving relationship with somebody. They feel suffocated when they're with somebody. And I'm sure as you've gone through life, especially in the dating world, you've met plenty of women and men who, even though they come from lovely family backgrounds, they don't necessarily want that for themselves. And not to particularly talk about the women, but in women in particular, I have seen that as they get older and they've had secure relationships with their parents and a lot of love and support from their parents, as they get older, they're actually very needy of their partners. And the reason is because they are so used to getting security from their father, from their mother, and having that constant sense of security, that when they move into a relationship with a partner that doesn't give them that sense of security, then they start to panic because they're not used to not having the security. So you can actually have a very secure upbringing and still be older and still need constant reassurance. And like I said before, that you can be more than one attachment style. So actually, in fact, you can probably even be all four attachment styles to some level. And I'm sure we've all felt that, especially with different partners or different people that we meet in our lives. Maybe we treat certain people a certain way and treat other people another way. So maybe with certain people, when we meet them at a specific period of our life, we are very open and trusting, whereas as we move on, we are not so open and trusting, or then maybe we become trusting again. Or maybe at some point in our life, we're not really looking for a relationship. We don't really want to get involved with anybody, and we're a bit commitment phobic. But then as time goes on, we're like, we actually want to be in a relationship. We decide to change our minds, and all of a sudden you want that love and companionship. So as I said before, the attachment styles are not static, but I definitely don't feel like your childhood has an overbearing influence on all of them. I think life experiences in general are what shape your attachment style, or just shape you as a person in general. And like I said before, you can even just be all four attachment styles, depending on how you're feeling. Or you can pick and have certain qualities from one attachment style and certain qualities from another one. And I'm sure for the ladies who are watching, again, I don't want to mention this, but I'm saying it because based on experience and even just biological nature of a woman, the majority of women are going to be classed as anxious. And not just because of the upbringing from our parents, but because of societal pressures, because of media expectations, because we're told that we need to get married by a certain age and have babies by a certain age, and our value a lot of times lies in who we're partners with, unfortunately. So a lot of women, based on all of these surrounding factors, will be classed as anxious. And this doesn't really have anything to do with their childhood. Also, like I was saying before, women in their very nature require more security than a man does in a relationship. I'm not saying men don't require security at all, they absolutely do, but women need a lot more. And the reason is because when we want to have children, we want to be in a stable situation where we feel like our children are going to be taken care of and provided for. And kind of like the survival of the fittest, you want to be with the person who's going to give you the most stability and security. And just to finish things off, I also feel like you can actually train yourself to be more disciplined and care less. So it doesn't necessarily mean that because you had a great childhood or a rough childhood, that as you get older, you can't train yourself out of it, or they say heal out of it, but it's not even just about healing. Sometimes it's just about discipline. Sometimes even if you are very anxious as a person, just disciplining yourself to not chase somebody when you are feeling anxious can make a world of difference. So anyway, I've given you a lot to think about. I would love to hear your opinion in the comments below of what you think your relationship attachment style is, whether you think the theory is a good one or a bad one, and just anything else you have to say about it. I would love to hear from you. And stay tuned to the Mind Council channel. Thank you so much for watching.